when I did CrossFit for a couple of years, I actually even competed at one of not the games, but locally we had our CrossFit, and that was so much fun. I did it with my eldest daughter, who at the time was 15, and she really got into it and loved it too. I got into it, well, a long time ago. I got into some of the exercising more because a little dog sort of came into our home out of nowhere in the summer. And my youngest was finally going to kindergarten. I said, okay, now I'm going to have time for myself. And all of a sudden, this dog showed up. It's like, oh my gosh, now I've got to walk a dog every morning. This was about a year or two before I started bodybuilding. A local CrossFit opened up in our town, and we met the owner, and one thing led to another. Oh, why not? So I went over there, absolutely loved it, especially this was after many years of having all my children and not being involved in working out much. So that was the initial side of it. Interesting that you mentioned that, because last night I ended up watching on YouTube. One of my daughters put me onto it. There was a women's challenge. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but they had the CrossFitter, they had the bodybuilder, they had the power lifter, and then they had the weightlifter. And Dana Lynn Bailey was the representative for the bodybuilder. And I think this was pretty recent. It was only a couple of months ago that it was done. But they had different challenges to see which one of them might excel in this, that, or the other. The CrossFitter ended up winning the whole thing. And a lot of it was because, yes, there's that the cross of different exercises. The thing with CrossFit, and the difference between CrossFit and what I do, and I had to give up CrossFit then after 10 years now, I would be able to do both, is because CrossFit, you're doing the least amount of exercises that involve the most amount of muscles. Whereas with bodybuilding, everything is so specific. Every exercise I do is for a small portion of a muscle. Or sometimes people in the gym say, oh, why are you doing a curl this way as opposed to the other? I said, well, last week I did the other. This time I'm doing it this way because I'm trying to get a tiny little strand that is somewhere else on my bicep, for example. The only thing with CrossFit that I would suggest to everyone, you have to go to a really good box, make sure that the instructors there know exactly what they're doing, because so many people have messed up their shoulders or messed up certain parts of their body, not because CrossFit is necessarily bad, but just because of overuse maybe. One of the beauties about CrossFit is you never know what your WOD is going to be that day. And sometimes because they're trying to confuse the body and not have the body do the same thing over and over, or have, well, twice a week we're going to do this, twice a week we're going to do legs. You could go for 4 days in a row, maybe doing shoulders or doing something else, and that can be too fatiguing for the body. So once again, you've got to know your body, know when enough is enough, and have a really, really good instructor. But that goes for whether it's CrossFit or bodybuilding or anything. Definitely have a trainer if you want to do something that you're not used to, or you want to take something to a different level. But you've got to know who that is, get along with them, make sure that they know their stuff, and make sure that they know you. Here's another thing, because I'm 54 years old. A lot of times I'll get a few clients who will be my age or a little bit older, and they say, well, I've tried a lot of trainers who are in their 20s, and they don't know how to get around the knee or the shoulder or the arthritic one thing or another, just because, and part of it is because they don't have the experience with that. And it's just an age, or somebody who has had issues with a certain body part. Once again, it's important, know who, and figure out what your purpose is, whether it is CrossFit, whether it is bodybuilding, weight training, whatever. What are you doing it for? And based on, is it for an individual sport? Is it for a team sport? Are you going to, are you a salesman who's in the car all day long going from one place to another? So where does your nutrition and your exercise or physical ability fit into the purpose? What do you need it to do for you? And based on that, you can figure out where and what, or even like I always talk about the lifestyle side of it. Well, if it doesn't fit into your lifestyle, if you can't go out with your friends and have meals because you say, oh, I've got to be on this diet, or if you can't go to, I don't know, special occasions, vacations, friends, that's an issue. a friend of mine, Vicki Diaz, who is an IFBB pro. I'm sure you've had Vicki on your show or so. I admire her extremely. And she told me that I'll always remember, because we train at the same gym. And she told me one day, she said, Monica, if my family knows that I am on prep, then I know I'm not doing it right. And I thought, wow, because that means that what she is doing is not affecting those loved ones and anyone around her. She's doing her thing, but she's also participating and doing with others. And I don't know how we digressed into that, but